Hey, Dustin Tibbetts here, financial advisor with Jazz Wealth. How you doing today? I hope you're doing well. Well, today I want to talk about something that nobody really talks about, but one of the things that's so important when it comes to your retirement investments. I promise you this isn't clickbait. We're going to get a little geeky here. So there are two parts to investing. There's your contributions and your returns. Now everybody focuses on the contributions. Dustin, how much should I put in? Where's it going to go? I get the question all the time. Hey, Dustin, what are you investing in? Well, at Jazz Wealth, we only invest in exchange-traded funds, and trust me, we've got this part. It's basically boiled down to a science. How you want to invest is exactly how we will invest. The real question here is you should be asking, when do I start seeing my portfolio gain more than the contributions I put in? That's the real sort of snowball to investing that most of you never make it to. See, so many of you take out money early and you never get to see the point, that crossover point where your portfolio, the contributions you're putting in, are outweighed by the gains that you see. For example, you put in $1 one month and your portfolio gains $2. At what point does your portfolio take over and the gains start to snowball so that you can, grow those retirement investments and essentially live off the growth, not what you're putting in? So that's what we're going to talk about today. Let's go. All right, so we're going to use the example that you make $50,000 in a year, and we're going to assume that you put 10% of your salary into your Roth IRA, your investments, whatever you've chosen for your retirement vehicle. So if you make $50,000, you put 10% in a year, that's going to work out to obviously $5,000 in a year, or $416 per month. So if every month you put in $416, what happens? Where's the growth? What do we see from this? Well, if in the first month you put $416 into your retirement investments, maybe we'll use a Roth IRA as an example, and you averaged a 7% return. That's the historical average that people make. Now, it could be more, it could be less, but let's pretend that this is just a frozen world and you're going to make 7% a year. Well, you put $416 in that first month, and the returns that you would see equal $2.42. That's not that exciting. Most people look at that and they go, well, this sucks, right? I'm never gonna grow, I'm never gonna gain anything. And that's just the starting point, so don't fall for that. Let me explain. So after the first year, you would have put in $5,000 into this theoretical account, of course, as just an example. Now you would have had $350 in gains. That's 7% if the first year returned 7%. That's about $29 a month. So every month you're putting in $416. At the end of that first year, you put in $416, you see $29 in gains. That's great, but at what point do we do this, where we put in money and we make more than what we put in? This is where the power of compound interest comes in. Here is what we're going to say. At the end of, if we use this example, at the end of 5 years, assuming that you got a 2% raise annually, that's kind of low. So let's say you got a raise that was 2%, and so you upped your contribution by 2%. So year number one, you made $50,000, you put $416 in. Year number two, your boss comes and says, here's a 2% raise. You bumped your contribution up by 2%. By year number 5, you now have covered about a third of the contributions, right? So for every dollar you put in, you're seeing about 33 cents in gains. After 8 years, this is where it starts to get interesting. If you continue to up your contribution by the 2%, at 8 years, you've reached the halfway mark, okay? So in this study, after 8 years, this participant would now be putting in $1 and seeing a 50 cent gain in their account. So for every dollar they put in, they get 50 cents. This is kind of like getting a 50% match if you were using a 401k or something like that. So now we're really starting to pick up steam, but we're not quite there yet. 13.4 years into this hypothetical sort of example, now you're starting to gain more than what you put in. So you're getting $570 worth of gains for every $527 you put in. That's more than a 100% match. So now every time you make your contribution, you know you're growing by that amount as well. So you're getting double the sort of impact. This is where the compound interest sort of snowball, or whatever you want to call it, really starts to take effect. The problem is you kind of maybe did something, you took some money out, maybe you thought it wasn't so smart, you didn't make it to this 13.4 year mark, If you can manage to keep your paws off your money, this is where it really starts to pay off. At this point, you do whatever it takes to stay with this path. You up your contributions by 2% as you get the raises, because 10 years from this point, well, what happens basically is from the 13.4 mark, for 13.4 years, the difference between your contributions and your gains really starts to widen, meaning you put money in, but you're gaining more and more. So that sort of spread starts to really widen. So if we go 10 years from this point, now you're at 2 for 1. For every dollar you put in, you're gonna be seeing a $2 gain. In this example, of course, it's not perfect, right? Sometimes you might see more or a little bit less, but you get the idea. Now we're into this thing another 10 years, we're doing that 2 for 1. Now we're really starting to make the difference there. 7 years after that, you triple. So every dollar you put in, you're gonna see 3 in gains. You see where I'm going with this? Because you're putting in more than $1, of course, and so you're seeing 3 times whatever you contribute as your gains. If we go 5 years even further, now we're quadrupling that. So the power of this sort of compound interest really starts to take effect in the later portion of your retirement. Now I know it's the long game, but if you stick with it, this is where you start to go, look, I'm putting in a little bit of money and I got all these gains on top of it. Now we're talking. This is just an example of compound interest. It's something that nobody really talks about, but it truly is the most important part to investing. Those first 13 years, they're okay, you're building up, you're excited, but what you notice if you've stuck at it for those 13 years, after you cross that hump, now all of a sudden you notice this rapid sort of increase in your retirement savings. So I get a lot of customers that go to jazzwealth.com if you're interested, small plug here. That's what we do. We help you with retirement investments. We'll get you on track. We'll try to keep you on that sort of pace and not let you waver too much. But so many people are just getting started and they go, Dustin, you tell me I can put in anything I want. A little bit goes a long way. What does that mean? This is what it means. Stick with it. The only thing I ask my clients to do is be consistent. There's no minimum to work with Jazz Wealth. We'll start with $1 if that's all you have to invest. But the point is being consistent with that adds up little by little. So in our example, we use 10% on someone that has a $50,000 a year income, is adding to it, sticking with it, not taking the money out for stupid reasons, and you see how that starts to build. So I hope you enjoy. If you'd like to work with Jazz Wealth or it's something you're considering, you know you should get started and you're younger, you go, I don't know what to do, where to go, or who to invest with, I think you'll like what you find at Jazz Wealth. One of the biggest things that makes us different than everybody else, we don't take your money. When you put money in, you put it into a brokerage account, we just manage the investments. We have zero access to your dollars. All we have access to is to manage those dollars.
Take it, Satch.